where scenes are most present is actually filmed 9 years apart on two different screens. And I know you mentioned earlier it was you were doing a commission in Durham, and it was a petrol station that you passed on the way.
Yeah.
You started it in 2001.
This was 9 years ago, yeah. I had a residency in the city, and so to come up from Liverpool, I chose this route, which passed the petrol station. It's not that far out of Durham, but it's really quite isolated. And so, yeah, I was asked 9 years later to make a way for Durham Art Gallery, and it just, I'd always been interested in that footage that I'd done, because I'd tried to make a piece of work out of it and I'd always been unhappy with it. I think it did exist as a work that I sent to Bill Hall, who sort of organised the residency, but I never showed it anywhere. I never thought that it was properly finished, so I thought I could do something with this footage. I didn't know what it would be really, but it wasn't, even though the footage is just footage of a petrol station, was inspired in 2001 by Umbrellas of Cherbourg, a French film with an amazing scene in a petrol station at the end. But I didn't know how that would fit in with the final work if they ever did finish it. But I managed to kind of put the two together. But I said earlier that all the works have 2 or 3 elements. There's usually a story, like a myth, like the Mackenzie thing, or in case of Futurists, it's the Gumshoe film, and in case of that, it's the French film. And the story can be a film or a novel. As I mentioned the Orwell book that inspired one of the pieces. But it can be just an overhead kind of urban myth, you know, about the human league or whatever it might be. It's sort of a narrative that can be a starting point, or that can be used in relation to other elements to make something.
So I think it's really interesting hearing that you've got a scientific approach to making the works. There are these elements that you bring together, and it might appear sometimes, particularly with the petrol stations, because they are an everyday occurrence, that you just sort of do a petrol station. But actually, there's a really long, thought-out process in making the work and bringing all those elements together.
That is quite a lot, 9 years.
9 years work. and that conversation, that meeting at the end, in Umbrellas of Cherbourg also comes across in the way that you have, in a very basic level, the 2 different lines of this petrol station meeting again with that 9-year gap. And I think it's really successful, and it's one of the funniest works. And there is, because there's a lot of humour. There is a lot of humour, but people respond to it really well, and the kind of absurdity of the fact we've got these subtitles talking to each other for what seems like quite a static, everyday, boring view, and then sort of occasionally chuckling to themselves as they're watching it. And again, there's a lot of humour in the Futurists. At times it's quite scary and quite sad. And then you have these stand-up comics doing their own jokes.
But even that's one of their contributions with the joke. But I asked for jokes on certain themes like past life regression and so on. But yeah, so some of them are really old jokes as well, and like those kind of old jokes that have been retold and retold. They are kind of funny, but sometimes they are kind of just, don't know what we call whatever. But it's part of that awkwardness, I suppose. And the fact that they're amateur comics, some of them are really good. Like Stephen Porter is the kind of main guy telling jokes. He's a really good comic. But the main actor Tony was a taxi driver. And he's just not really a professional comic in that sense. But neither was Gumshoe. He was a big overall.
And is humour quite important in your work, or is it one of those things that just happens?
It's sort of just happens, yeah. I've tried to think. By the way, I meant to say this earlier. By all means, chip in with any questions at this point or at any point, rather than leave it to the end for any questions. I tried to sort of, when I was an art student, I read a lot of Irish writers like Flann O'Brien and Samuel Beckett, people like that. And humour's really crucial. I was kind of trying to connect with my Irish roots in some way, but it's a very kind of dark humour, Irish humour, I suppose.
Quite subtle as well.
Yeah, and there is, people have written about that and talked about humour being deliberately quite disruptive of conventional norms, so it's quite radical, but intentionally disruptive element to a particular situation. But quite often, and I sort of think about it like that, but quite often it just happens. And I suppose in a way, it comes out of just the way I write, or the kind of writing that I end up producing. Sometimes it's just inevitably absurd. Quite often starting off with very absurd premises. So in some ways, the idea of subtitles having a conversation with each other, it's a really kind of slightly unique idea. It's certainly unique for my work. So it's never explained whether these are actually people or whether they're just entities. And obviously this piece here is meant to be the voice of a tree that's projected up onto this wall, and there's a narrative about this tree's short life. So you can start off with a really kind of slightly ridiculous premise, but still retain some, I don't know what the word is, some sense of a serious engagement with life or with real experience.
And the humour always comes through the absurdity of the fact that the subjects are talking to each other or seem to be talking to each other on the screen.
Yeah, and these really everyday little asides that they have.
And sort of things that seem quite everyday and important. Actually it's also quite serious at the same time. Because when I look at it, you can see that 9 years later, this petrol station is no longer in the same role. And so again, there was a darkness to it as well in thinking about what's happened after 9 years. And the way the landscape does change. So you've got this conjunction between the absurdity and a bit of humour in the subtitles. And then quite dark elements that do come out when there's this odd comment about the passage of time in subtitles, which is kind of quite superficial. But actually when you watch the two images of the petrol station, it's quite sad. And to me it speaks of the way that lots of different buildings in Britain are closing down, petrol stations, pubs, and livelihoods changing over the years.
A lot of petrol stations have become car valet stations.
And then they close down after that, or they change into the purpose, or they just end up boarded up. So it's quite sad and quite dark, but absurd at the same time, which I think is really successful. And you maybe not be expecting that little bit of humour to come out as you start reading the subtitles. And again, in the future, you've got this sudden onslaught of jokes with comedians, and then really dark parts where Tony's talking about his father and his regrets. And I think that's really successful. So you kind of left not really knowing what the answers to the word culture, but I think it's really good to go back to again and again and get a different response each time.
And in some ways, Small Talk is the attempt was to try and make it work about that irresolution, or the fact that things don't cohere necessarily in an artwork, or it's not about necessarily starting off with some themes and then, as you said, about maybe more mainstream films and so on, ended up with an answer somehow, or everybody not happy with
it ties up perfectly.
And resolution. So, so this, idea of kind of failure that was inherent in the original idea. It always stays there in a way. It never doesn't quite get resolved in the end. And the conversation even just sort of drifts off. There's no punchline as such.
And if with Bellevue, you're still not really sure what's happening, if he's imagining it. At the end, it sort of resolves itself.
Yeah, he could be a ghost. That main character, the Paul Hilton Bill character, may not exist yet. It's, again, yeah, I deliberately try to keep things open, and not to explain things to us.
And if we go to the other extreme, I would think of Bellevue, there's a work, I don't know if you've seen it. We have a building next to VG&M which is called the Active Learning Laboratory, which is part of the School of Engineering. And it was a 1960s fairly high-rise building, and a few years ago the university literally chopped the top off the high-rise and refurbished the building and put a big, what's like a glass cube on top that lights up at night with a different lighting scheme on it. And we asked Paul, quite randomly I suppose, to think about whether he could do something with the lights on that building. So the building's a big cube. It has, I can't remember how many lights, about 30 squares on each side, 30, 60 squares. All the windows, each one has a different light in it. So potentially each cube can be a different colour, and so you can do patterns or sequences with those lights, and it can go fast and slow. And we asked Paul if he would like to do something with that building that would be viewable at night from far and wide, somehow linked to the exhibition, and Paul came up with He Was Afraid, which is has come out of Bellevue from the semaphore, and the semaphore in Bellevue is personalised into the semaphore flags which are displayed on the building. He Was Afraid. I was going to ask you a bit more about, because we came up quite quickly, we didn't have much time of thinking about what we do with it, and how you got to that point. Because text is so important in your work. With the way the building is, there was no way you could actually really put words around in the lights. So I hoped we might do something with text, because text is so important in your work. That just wasn't really going to happen. And so you kind of turned that text into the semaphore.
Yeah, I suppose it is text, kind of.
It's text literally.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting for me to do, because I've never done anything like it before. Normally the amount of text is quite, in one of my works, is quite extensive. So to have to sort of narrow things down in the case of that piece to one word was quite interesting and tricky, but I thought it would make sense to just try and link the piece with one of these works, and it seemed appropriate because Bellevue has, as Moira said, there's a flag semaphore of, you can say the word.
Yeah, that's what you can't tell people.
All right, the word is Fury, F-U-R-Y, and it actually comes from the Malcolm Lowry novella Lunar Caustic. I think in that, one of the characters in the mental asylum in New York, in Bellevue, does a lot of flag semaphore, but he doesn't do it properly. He just pretends, he doesn't actually make it with words. But yeah, so the semaphore came out of that. But then I think the Bill character sees the word Fury going across behind an aeroplane. Those advertisements they used to have behind aeroplanes, a big banner. So it's just the word Fury, and then he looks at it and then says, the narrator says, he was afraid. And it's everything that he encounters in the novel reflects his own inner turmoil in a way. It's really, like a lot of Malcolm Lowry's writing, it's really about inner mental pain.